enlightenment, pure consciousness. That is that 98 to 100% of creative genius. That is also what we might refer to as Christ consciousness, right? Pure consciousness is Christ consciousness. Now we operate, and Will is into IT, so he might be explaining this too. We operate in a state of consciousness and a state of our subconscious as well, right? Your subconscious is like this back program that's just running on autopilot, right? I was tripping about this one day because I don't know why I was distracted, but I was distracted driving, and I like pulled right up to wherever I needed to be, but I was like, I don't even remember actually driving here. Like, has that ever happened? You'd be like, oh, I'm here, but like, how did I get here? That's your subconscious, because you've been there already before, right? Your subconscious can take you places on autopilot because it's already stored in your subconscious. It's like a computer, right? Computer program. You put the program in, and the program just runs how the program is supposed to run, right? So the goal with this and with metaphysics is to reprogram your subconscious for you to understand your power and remember who you are. Getting back to your source. You have to retrain your brain in order to do that. So that on autopilot, when you see something that's not right, let's say somebody, what's a good example? Something on your subconscious. So from a poverty standpoint, or poverty consciousness, because that's another class we'll talk about that. But you can see a bill and you might not have no money. But subconsciously, you gotta look at it and be like, oh, I got that, you know what I mean? Or you can ignore it, you know what I mean, completely. Like, that does not, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? I don't agree with that concept, because let me tell you something. This is how powerful we are. We are so powerful, we can override facts, is how powerful we are, right? Like, but you have to get it in your subconscious mind, and it's different ways that you can do that, right? It's different ways you can do that. Again, I always use money example because everybody knows what I'm saying, right? But you have to trick yourself. At first, it'll feel like you're tricking yourself. You might feel like you're even lying to yourself, delusional a bit, right? But you have to retrain your brain to understand that God really is everything good, if that makes sense. When they talk about the gospel spread the good words, spread the good news, you know what I'm saying? Like, you are so loved, you are so cared for. You know, I always tell people, the fact that you are here is a miracle. The fact that you were born is a miracle. There are so many souls that are waiting to be born. And it's very hard to be born, right? As a doula, let me just quickly explain how hard it is to be born. A woman can only become pregnant 3 to 5 days out of the month. That's a window of time, a very short window of time to become pregnant. When sperm enters the body immediately wants to kill it, right? Because it's a foreign entity to the body. The woman's body immediately goes into like, you ain't supposed to be in here. I'm gonna kill you, right? And that's why it's only one sperm that actually makes it, right? This is how intelligent this sperm is. This sperm is so intelligent that it really wanted to be here, right? That it get through all the other sperm and it wards off everything it's trying to kill it to enter the egg to fertilize the egg. Okay, once it's fertilized, the egg still has to travel through the fallopian tube. And we know that it doesn't always make it through the fallopian tubes. That's called an ectopic pregnancy, right? Once it makes it through the fallopian tube and it implants in the uterus, there's a number of things that can go wrong right there, right? Miscarriage, right? So let's say that the baby makes it full term. There's still the possibility that the baby could be born stillborn. It is hard to be born, y'all. It's very hard to be born. And the fact that all of us are here and we consciously made a decision from our spiritual selves, from our 5D, our higher consciousness selves, that we wanted to come to this earth because we wanted to experience what being a human was like. We are miracles. We are literally miracles walking here on the Miracle Mile, which I hope Fred Taylor knows about. But, right?
So why people should take life for granted?
Because you you are a miracle. You almost didn't make it. Almost. One wrong thing. If you speak to every 1 in 4 women have experienced miscarriage, and they have experienced, it's hard to be here. So you here, that means you have purpose in being here. And it's about you finding that purpose. And the purpose could be you just existing. I don't even want people to get all caught up in being like, oh, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? You know what I'm saying? You might be here. This is my mother right here. Sorry. My grandmother got 9 kids. You know what I'm saying? That's really all my grandmother she did was raise her kids. That was her purpose. To raise her kids. She didn't need to go off and be a billionaire, and build this. Her purpose was to bring these 9 souls forth. Right? So back to this map of consciousness. So we all start off up here, because up here really is beyond this. If you go further than enlightenment, you dead. You ain't here no more. Right? Like this is as far as we gonna get in a human body, right? So when you are up here at this enlightenment space, which we all start off here, most of us are operating down here though, in the survival paradigm, and in particular in the orange space, the last space, the last 5, the 4, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. That's where most of us are operating at, right? Because we've been beaten down so much. And again, remember, this is not just your lifetime. This is generational. So you carrying the burdens of your mother and grandmother and great and great and great. And we can even prove this, even though I'm saying this from a conscious, ethereal place, there's scientific evidence of this, and it's in epigenetics. And then I ain't trying to call you out, girl, but you know what I'm saying? Epigenetics is pretty much the same thing. So epigenetics is the changing of the gene expression over time, right? So, for example, if your mother or grandmother was very depressed, and that was her main state, right? Where she felt a sense of guilt or apathy, or she lived in fear, then it will literally change the expression of the cell when it comes to and through you. So you gotta remember too, women are born with 400,000 eggs. So you already in your mother before you and your mother, you and your grandmother already, right? Your grandmother, your great grandmother. So those genes will express themselves, and now you think you was born with a mental health disorder, right? Because you might suffer from depression. But it's not really your depression. It's the depression of your grandmother or grandfather 4 times back. And now you here to deal with it and battle with it so that you clean up your vibration, clean up your energetic vibration, so that you can reach a place of at least somewhere up here in the blue and the green. You know what I mean? And so that's really the work of what it is that we do. Now let me show you what affects this. Besides this, we're gonna go to average childhood experience. Any comments or questions before I move on to that? Is it resonating? Is y'all feeling it? Do it make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
It's crazy because like I haven't seen this laid out on the spectrum like this, but I can see like just within my life, like how I've like literally gone from being at that bottom level, and even to having to separate. So as you mentioned, I tell my kids about us sharing, that chemical energy, meaning, and when I say chemical energy, I tell them when one of y'all is crying and the other one is upset and this one is angry, like as mothers, we feel all of that. And so with me knowing that came from my own mother, I had to separate from, as you mentioned, the genetic part by being present in that environment in order for me to be able to heal myself and then be able to go back and deal with it.
Right. Wow. Thank you for sharing that because that's very real. And I love what you said too, because like it really do speak to how we are so connected energetically, right? That child is not even present and around you. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that just can come over, right? And that is enough right there to just prove that there's something else beyond us, right? There's a higher something, because it's telepathic almost, right? It's just the energy that you can feel.
So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I love this.
And you know what I noticed? His last name is Hawkins. Stranger Things, the city's called.
Oh, that's true.
And you know, Stranger Things is all about the whole, underlying issues of fear and things.
And doppelganger.
And that, right. So when I saw that,
That's true. That's so true. And for those who haven't watched Stranger Things, my son is a really big fan, so I got roped into it.
Yeah,
But it's really good.
It's good.
It is deep.
Yeah, it's real
And
deep.
in particular, season 4.
Yeah.
This is for people who haven't seen season 4. And I will encourage you to go and watch it. Watch season 4. You can watch all of them, but watch season 4.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah,
That's the best one.
because they make a very, I said these writers are amazing. They made a very big distinction between what somebody said, the as above, so below thing, right? Right? Where they live in this world above, right?
Right.
But the one guy, Will, got sucked into the
Below.
below now.
Right.
And in season 4, they use fourth dimensional tools to navigate between the physical reality and the 5D, the 3D and the 5D. And one of those tools, which everybody can relate to, is music. Right? Think about when you have been in not such a great place. You know what I'm saying? And you could put on some music, classical, jazz, whatever you listen to. You know what I mean? Or what do people do before they go out? They put some turn up music on, right? It is to elevate your energy. And I thought that was a really good depiction. And the other good depiction that I thought that Stranger Things 4 made was that everybody who went to the therapist so there's a evil man, Vecna.
Oh,
right.
yeah, right.
But they would pull everybody that came from the therapist got pulled into the upside down
world.
right? Because, and again, I'm not against therapy. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, you generally not going into therapy talking about your joys and what makes you happy, right? You can go into therapy feeling like this and come out of therapy feeling like that. Right? Because you bring up all of this stuff that you haven't figured out and you heard and you're still mad at your mama for something she did 40 years ago. She don't even remember. You know what I'm saying? But you hold on to it. And a big part of this is surrendering and letting go. And so with this map of consciousness, because either one of y'all just said it, you could have made it to this level. And let me say this, because somebody can ask me, they're like, well, how do you know what level you on? It's a very internal scale, right? Nobody knows that but you. If you at a constant state of love and reason, and that's the majority, that's your dominant energy, then you know you can make it to that spot, right? But what can happen is, you can make it to this level of high consciousness. Something might happen, and you might dip down, right? But because you did the healing work, for one, you won't stay there long. And for two, when you come back up, you shoot a little higher than you did before. So this is not saying, oh, don't feel anger, don't feel desire, don't feel fear. We still human. You're gonna feel that. You're going to experience it. You came to this earth to experience all that life has to offer, right? And you take the good with the bad. That's just the deal you made. That's just the contract you signed when you came here. Was that you were gonna take the good and the bad. It's the bad, because that is what being a human is. And another thing is that we forget that. We forget it, but we're not conscious of it. Is that we are not comfortable being human, and we don't sometimes understand what being a human is. And so we beat up on ourselves, and we do this negative self-talk, and we live in this state of fear because we don't understand what it means to be a human. You ain't never made a single mistake ever in life, ever. I'm sorry to be the first person to tell you, you ain't never But guess what? You gonna still learn that lesson. That way too. We just don't know what that way look like. Right? You look like you want, you gotta say,
Well,
say
say
something.
something.
Right.
That's all you really gonna use.
Yeah.
Well, it was two things. One, me and my brother right here was talking today about, we just did a diagram, and we are entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And I told him, can't wait to get to the level where we're doing this instead of doing that. Because as you learn, you don't have to go all the way down. The more you learn and the higher conscious you are, you may dip and remind you, keep you grounded, but you don't have to go all the way down. You go down, up. Because on any scale, I was telling them that right there, doing a lie detector test, your heart rate, that's a problem. When they start seeing that, when you're doing that, that's an issue. But your steady path is like, because you're gonna always go down.
Right.
You know, like she said, it's a lesson. Number two, I was telling my wife, like, I don't like therapists. Therapists don't do nothing but remind you of your problems, and they like to hear, they more like itchy ears. They want to hear all your gossip, and it's really up to you. Even if they give you something, it's up to you to apply those principles to make you better. So it doesn't matter. Most people are addicted to going to therapy because they're addicted to their pain. So they love therapy and they call it working, but it's not really working because you're not growing from that. So I don't like therapists, like, period. I like to learn and grow and therapy myself using the Most High. And Fred, you know, I'm back here again, man. You gonna let me go? But yeah, so this day has been like amazing. Even being back in here, because I didn't know he was gonna be here.
Oh, wow.
So I was just telling them, like, I'm back right under his tutelage, because he was showing me when I first started on entrepreneurship. And it's grown to the point where we're about to have our own school. Because I don't believe in the school, I'm a teacher. And I'm looking like, this is terrible. What they doing to our children, especially in 2024, their reading levels is like second grade, third grade. So yeah, I'm just.
I still learned Waldorf. So I had a chance to experience Waldorf education with them. So they made their own textbooks and they spent time outside. Was outside for that's how I met Kristen through Adele. But so they had that experience of experiential learning. So they were doing art and all of that.
Is it the charter?
It wasn't a charter school.
Private?
It was, I would say, a homegrown school, like Cleveland Heights had, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way.
So almost like a homeschool, it was a homeschool environment, but with the Waldorf pedagogy.
Yeah. Yeah. And is that school still here? Because I know it was being held. Yeah. And I took my son there to visit too around that time. Because I was like, But I had to make a commitment to just work with him outside of him. I know you homeschooled your kids too. So yeah, like you said, and that's a good example because when you're in the hospital, that's the heart monitor, right? And you go ahead, Shannon.
No, I was thinking the same, I was gonna comment on that. The rate does go up and down. The problem is, like you said, it dips, but not only when it dips, but when it stays there too long.
Yeah.
So if you learn the conscious level you wanna be at, you can sometimes just keep it steady and not just do a plummet and stay there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is it churning?
Churn.
Okay, so over to the adverse childhood experience. Can somebody give me the time? What time is it? 7:20, okay. We only going to 8. Yeah, that's fine. It's only gonna be 7:30, somewhere. So, and these average childhood experiences, oh no, that's okay. I don't need it, I got this note. So, from this map, and you gonna match it up, which is why I had y'all take both of them out, is in a journal, and this is private, so this is to yourself. I want you to write down in your journal, from this map of consciousness, where do you want to be? What do you want your primary line to be?
Now or forever.
Oh. In the present.
Where you gonna be on this chart? Oh, I can't know your baseline.
Where are you on that chart? That's a good, so where are you on that chart? Where would you like to be? But I want you to focus on where you would like to be. And when I say like to be, this means that this is your predominant state.
Yeah.
Where you want this to be your predominant state.
It's like your blood pressure. You got a baseline.
Yeah.
And when you move below or above it, it will trigger some type of reaction in your body.
Right.
He talk about from shame to alignment. That's what.
Yep, enlightenment, from shame to enlightenment. Where would you like to be, ideally, your predominant emotional state? Do you got another journal? Oh, let me get you. Do anybody else need one? Yeah, you can get rid of it. Anybody need a pen? Anybody need a pen? Okay.
Anybody like a water?
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry, I did not even do housekeeping. The restroom is right there to the right, through that door, and there are snacks on the table. There's some salad, cake, and some fruit. My apologies.
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, my baseline comes from this line,
Mhm.
or in this line, take you all the way across?
Just,
This
here,
part,
uh-huh.
gotcha.
So when you on this journey of, trying to teach your the stuff that you want to teach,
Mhm.
and
Back water,
you have
please.
people in your life,
Or blood water.
yes, you have people in your life that's down, and in this survival mode, is there like a key to probably like counting out, because they're not aligned with you.
Mhm. So, it's codependency, and it's putting up boundaries. And we'll have another class about that, like how you deal with people who are unhealed and are not even on the journey of healing. It's not to cast them out, but you gotta have strong boundaries with them. And boundaries is something that we really struggle with. People of color in particular. We are so enmeshed with each other, and that has to do generationally. And yes, it got something to do with slavery. Everything has to do with slavery, right? So it's such an enmeshment because we have had to be on top of each other and live on top of each other. We have had to, kind of put up with each other's stuff or whatever. And we have a very, very hard time drawing boundaries. We feel bad when we draw boundaries. Yes, ma'am.
I don't necessarily think you feel bad with drawing the boundary. I think you feel bad when folks blur those lines. And then you don't know how to take the hard stand on what you say is a boundary for you. Cause then they just keep, yeah, it's like one of those things. So I don't think it's the fact you draw the line, is that can you keep the line?
Right, yeah. And a little bit of both, because some people, and so you might be stronger in that area, you know what I mean? It's a lot of people who will get completely walked over and taken advantage of because they don't recognize their self-worth, you know what I'm saying? And you recognize your self-worth enough to put these boundaries up and be like, well, now I gotta stop you, you know what I'm saying? And that's fine, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, there's some people who haven't learned how to do that at all, you know what I mean? And are starting from scratch of having to draw those boundaries with their loved ones. And it's saying, this don't mean that I love you, I don't love you, it just means that I love myself, right? So this author, her name is Melody Beattie. I love all of her books. Her first book she wrote is called Codependent No More. And she was a drug and alcohol counselor, and she saw so many women that was coming into her practice who were married to addicts. And she was saying how she saw so many women die because they were giving their all to this man because they were so codependent and they could not blur that line. So they were wearing themselves down, literally to death, doing all the work and the kids and trying to keep this person alive who doesn't care about themselves. And we do that in our relationships with our friends and our families, particularly with our families, you know what I'm saying? Or partners that we attract into our life because we haven't yet realized our worth and our power. We haven't yet realized our high power. So we allow people to take advantage of, and we give ourselves over to people who don't deserve to have us, right? And one of the things that Melody Beatty says is, she
What's the
says,
last name?
B-E-A-T-T-I-E. But she says that codependency basically just means that you love other people more than you love yourself. And like, that's a gut punch when you yourself have been in that codependent, space. And you're like, wow, why I love these people, but I don't love myself. But the truth is, you don't love these people either, because you can't love people without you loving yourself, right? So it's a reality check around this as it relates to codependency. And it takes work. You know what I mean? None of this is an overnight thing. All of this is a journey, right? So you start off slow, and you put the boundaries up, make no complete sentence, and live your life. And they'll be okay. Because what will end up happening if you don't is you become the enabler for them to continue their bad behavior. And you are not a resting center for other people's bad behavior.
We're not the same.
Not the same.
So you're not responsible for the growth.
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, so the average childhood experiences. So there's a cycle, right? And you also have that in your book too. But if you look at the average childhood experiences, and I added a whole lot more, because I know I'm very familiar with Nadine Burke, who that's her thing, average childhood experiences. I went to go see her when she came to Cleveland, got her book, read through all of it, and I wanted to add some more, because I wanted to just be a little bit more explicit. It's like they categorize them, but I wanted to be a little bit more explicit. So that's personal for you too, right? You can write that down in your journal if you wish to, for you to circle or to just glance to see what are these experiences that I had as a child, right? As average childhood experience. And then I'm gonna show you the connection to the consciousness and our average childhood experience. And the other question that I want y'all to think about too, the big back over to the consciousness map is, as we talking about this average childhood experience, I want you to think about this. What has prevented you from being at that predominant place that you chose on the consciousness map? Does that make sense? What has prevented you from making that emotion your predominant emotion? The emotion that you chose, that you said that you wanted, the level you want to be at, what has prevented you from being there? My guess is it got a lot to do with average childhood experience, right? So that's why I want you to look at those average childhood experiences. Now, this is how it goes. You got this in your packet too. So you have an average childhood experience. Something off that, oh, yeah. So think about this. You a child, you operating at your 98%, living a child's life. Boom, some stuff happens. Boom, you get abused. Boom, you get bullied. Boom, you experience poverty. Right? When that happens, it immediately starts to decrease your consciousness. Now you started at the top here. As soon as you start to experience average childhood experiences, this goes down and down and down. You have a decrease in your consciousness. And because your consciousness has decreased, your self-esteem decreases. That's confidence, right? The average childhood experiences dictates you having a lower self-esteem and having low confidence. And when you have low confidence and you have a low self-esteem, you have a low sense of self-worth. So you make poor decisions. And you make poor decisions because you have forgotten your worth. You have forgotten how you matter. You have forgotten that you matter. you have forgotten that you are worthy. Can you give it back? You have forgotten that. And so, because you did make those poor decisions, you selecting partners that aren't worthy of you, you are just making a range of poor decisions that then inflicts pain onto your children. So now your children got adverse childhood experience, right? And it's a cycle that keeps repeating itself. Does that make sense? Anybody need to go over that again?
I was thinking from Nadine Burke's book, the experience of childhood trauma, yes, it can roll you in this cycle, but if you have the facilitation of someone who can help you during those particular experiences, it won't be as great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
was gonna say that. That's
Absolutely.
important.
Yeah, if there is intervention, and that could look like a village, right? That could look like the community. This is why community is important, because here's the thing, and again, working with mothers for years, is that our mothers are not supported, and you are not meant to raise children on your own. You're not, right? Our mothers are stressed to the max. They gotta work several jobs, because they chose the men who can't support them, or the kids. You know, and again, and we all healing from this. You know, our men, our women. What I'm saying is, you make these poor decisions, and then that inflicts that onto your children. You're not meant to raise your children on your own. There are supposed to be people around you who are helping to support you, but as a mother doing everything, you don't even have the space and the capacity to love on your children the way that you would if you had the support that you needed. The financial support, emotional support, spiritual support. Yes, ma'am.
Also, what about the children who don't have parents? Because in the 80s, crackhead neighborhoods turned into ghettos, and both of my parents disappeared when I was 12. And I couldn't leave my siblings alone. There's 3 of them, 2, 5, and 8, so that made me like, so that also made the person take longer to heal, because they don't know that that's what's wrong. It's my time, it's my function.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you were saying. I'm just like a survivor.
Thank you for sharing that. No, that's very real. And that's why we doing this work now, right? So that
My kids, they kind of kept more of their, like, or whatever, and they started like looking at, what was going on with the church, that I was on to ministry and church and this and so that, and they started showing me stuff like this, and I'm like, well, what is that? So I got rid of a few books, and then there's some people like, that's me. It was like, okay, I said I need to be people around, and then I could get back on with it to 98.
Yeah.
So I thought,
Well, congratulations. And thank you for coming.
oh, I definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Why the lighthouse?
I'm sorry.
Why the lighthouse? The
The
lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
Look at that friend, you could have caught that.
Yeah, that's a you pointed out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Because I always felt lost.
Well,
I would go out to like Erie, where that lighthouse was, I would get the kind of solace of that. I would look out in the darkness of the light.
The Lighthouse always has to keep your money.
Right.
Right.
It's
Well,
divine.
should
You
have
at the
started-
lighthouse right here.
Well,
Yeah, I was about to
This
say,
is the
and
lighthouse.
I'm getting better, this is my first class, cause that should also be forefront, because I wanna say too, this is Fred's space, if you all don't know, or I'm familiar with Fred, it's Knievel, no, cause I want you to say a little bit, if you don't mind, about the Lighthouse, and why you named this place the Lighthouse.
That's the place
Yeah.
name.
That's why he
You
knows,
have
I was like,
arrived.
Fred, don't you? Yeah.
well, you know, exactly what she said. You know, I felt that, myself, at some point, got really disconnected from my spiritual being. And I had to reground myself, so I thought that, and then it's also called the Communal Lighthouse, which is an ancient Egyptian god that means to mold the fashion maker of God, fashion of men, right? So all those things combined, it was just in my spirit that we needed a lighthouse, right? Because I felt that the world had become a very dark place. But it's also a place for people of like minds to gather and spread light.
I like that lighthouse too, because you think light is also intelligence, energy, so it's holding that, the house holds the light, so it's like, a lighthouse as well as, the keeper of that, intelligence, and that's everybody who is here, and we all have, that's the mountain of, that's the libraries, are all like little mini libraries and here, that all collaborate together and sharing, what we know.
So one other little piece, right? Since Christian wanted to say something. So, so I had an office in the front, and it was two African statues, and I put the female African statues in there because I was like, I needed something to balance me. Alright, and so when Christian said, you know what, I'm gonna occupy that space, I was like, why don't you take the front and take it back? And we went in there, I didn't really look at the statues, but one was pregnant. And the other one was holding the baby. And I told her, I said, I've been waiting on you.
Yeah. Wow. Look how God works. I'm gonna forever tell this story. Cause when Will had brought me to come see Fred, and I've known Fred for probably about 10 years. Actually, this was the first place that I pitched BBC to get us funded from the beginning. This was the first place I came, and we had an event, and I pitched here, and we got the funding. But Will was like, I need to take you to go see Fred. So as soon as I walked up on the porch, and Fred's back was turned to me. As soon as I walked through the door, he was like, I've been waiting. And he didn't see my face yet. It was just me walking in, and he's like, I've been waiting. And I'm like, wow. Of course, he started talking about metaphysics, and he like, yeah, this is what we need to talk about. So I consider us to be light workers. I'm not gonna say consider. We are light
I mean,
workers.
that's what human beings is a light barrier. All of us are light. That's not what the lighthouse, that's what the lighthouse really represents. Lighthouse means you can always come back to yourself, or you can always find somebody in yourself. That's what the lighthouse means. You can find yourself, always find yourself. We are humans, and light barrier means human beings. We always carry the light in us.
Amen.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
And I went to the restroom, and I was thinking to myself, like, if we have more classes like this, just two nice congregations, and all these churches on this street, we can actually make a difference. Just with two little buildings, having these type of teaching. You understand what I'm saying?
We don't get our cut there.
We call this the miracle mind.
Yeah, just teaching this right here, the teachers change within self and applying the principles that they go and shout about every Sunday.
And we're like spiritual people.
Yeah, really
Like,
spiritual. Yes.
anyway, like,
Yes.
Have an earthly experience.
Yes.
Yeah. This is amazing. I can't express my gratitude. Okay, let me get to this. So, the cycle continues, right? And so, there are so many tools that you can use on a fourth dimensional level in order to intervene in this cycle, to interrupt the cycle, I should say, right? And really the first thing is awareness, consciousness. I talked about subconscious. Consciousness is you being aware. That's what conscious and consciousness means. Is that you, I think I'm right where now. Hold on. Yeah. So there are these things that you can do, right, to help yourself remember. And things that exist, or tools that exist in the fourth dimension, which we already talked about some of them. Anybody remember? Yeah, book series you can read.
Oh, music.
Music. We started off with a what?
Tango.
What about astrology or that's on?
No, this is true. So fourth dimensional tools is anything that helps you remember who you are and helps you elevate.
Meditation.
Meditation, yes.
Numerology.
Yes, and let me just say this real quick too, while we kind of talk about astrology and numerology. I just wrote on Facebook today, I said, because you know how people would say like, oh, that's witchcraft. And I wrote, I said the real witchcraft is the condition of believing that the tools that can help you connect to God is evil. Like that's the real witchcraft. To believe that these tools, which are here, right? Our whole universe is mathematics. All of it, right? Numerology, the reason why numerology works and why it's important is because numbers are a vibration. It's a frequency. A 1 has a different frequency than a 9, right? Your name has a vibration. That's why names are important. It has a vibration because each letter carries a number. And so what we are essentially doing is, when you do your numerology, you are finding out what your predominant frequency is, right? I started this class off saying that I'm a 6. My life path number is a 6. I can't get away from that even if I tried. I tried to stop serving people. That's why I left nonprofit. I was like, let me go do makeup and stuff, because I like doing makeup. Like, let me go do makeup. God was like, no, you can't get away from it. This is what you do. This is who you are. You know what I'm saying? So astrology matters because when you were born, astrology gives you a snapshot, a still shot of where every planet was at the time of your birth. The time you entered this place, your astrology and birth chart is giving you a snapshot. Like, oh, this is where the planets were aligned. When you were born, this is what was happening in the ethereal world. The world you can't see. This is what was happening up here when you were born. That's important. Why? Because it sets the energy for you moving forward in your life. And understanding those aspects of yourself. You do need to know what house Mercury is in for you, right? Because that's your house of communication. That's how you communicate with people. You do need to know where Venus was at, because that's going to tell you how you are able to give and receive love, right? You absolutely need to know where your North Node is, right? Because your North Node is your guiding star. It's the North, and it's in the Bible, but in the Bible we call it the North Star. The Bible is very symbolic and very, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, and then we have to remember, in order to get it right, when we're doing it right, there's really 13 months in a year. The new year is like April 1st. That's why they call it April Fools and stuff like that. So we gotta, like I've always learned, in order to receive truth, we gotta have it on principle, which is in the Bible as well. So those are principles. So while we're doing all that, just something to keep in mind, try to follow the real times of the earth so you can really know where Venus is and all of the stars and astrology.
Absolutely agree. And there are two, so the group use 13 months, but there's also Mayan astrology. And Mayan astrology uses 13 months. Now we used to use a tropical, and that's a whole other class. But we used to use a tropical. Usually when somebody asks you what your sign is, that's what you say. And I prefer to use Vedic astrology, which is also called sidereal. And sidereal astrology, it might be down here. Oh, can you hear that? It's that right on top.